And we are here with Paul O'Neill opening up another one of these early shows of FKC podcast. How's it going, Paul?
It's going great. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And you're like one of my best friends. And so I just wanted to kind of shoot shit with you and get some of your opinions about things going on musically today, and I wonder, because you're very specific with your music taste, but what you do listen to is all golden, and I wonder what you really look for in a track. So like when you listen to stuff, what do you really pick up? Like what do you listen for first when you hear a song?
That's a really great question. I feel like there's a lot of boxes that any song I listen to could like check. You know what I mean? If it has a good groove, I think that's like an automatic, I could like that song. You know what I mean? If I can really groove to it. I also look for a lot of harmonies in songs. I'm realizing now, I was just listening to like a bunch of my library because I feel like I've been trying to explore new songs. And I just went back into my library of all my saved songs. And most of them just have really intricate 3 to 4 part harmonies.
Well, I mean,
you know,
of course, we're in the harmonies over here.
Yeah.
Back at Pef Corp, we make some crazy stuff, you know?
We make some crazy harmonies together, we do.
Honestly, like when we first started that project, like it was really like creativity, I thought was going to be like the main focus of like, oh, these beats are going to be weird with Brandon's weird words.
Right.
And then we'll have cool vocal things in the background. But like, I feel like our sound is really coming from our harmonies.
I was
like,
about to say,
you really instilled in that, because it's like me and Brandon are very similar in sound. Like we can both like belt and get to a point, and we can both like go low and get to a point. But like you breached that extra area that we didn't have.
Dude, thank you.
And so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense that you're a very vocally based person.
Right. So if a song comes up like that, I mean, I just eat that shit up. I wish I was a little more into lyrics, because I think that I could enjoy more songs if I paid more attention to that.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't listen to lyrics?
Not too much. No, that's the last thing I pay attention to.
Really?
Yes. That's why I'm not a big rap person.
Oh, yeah, I guess
you
that
know
does
what
make
I'm
sense.
saying? Yeah.
And that really is where a lot of the substance in there comes from, you know? Like,
right.
But like I can see that you do like the beats and shit because you groove to all of our songs, and there's a lot of inspired things.
Exactly.
Rap like hodls and shit.
And when, you know, like in our live performance earlier on, when we would try and figure out some nice like background vocals to have, during the sets, how many times would you be like, you need to learn these lyrics?
Oh my God,
like,
yeah. Well, like you would be like practicing them and then like go into a mumble, and it's like, really? Paul, come on. But you would still like, I wouldn't even know, because like you just kind of go there anyway. I mean, like when we recorded Hodls, you were like, that's not the words. Like mid take. Oh my God. Those were so fun.
Yeah. So, I think those are 2 of the big things that I look for in a song. If it's got a good groove and it's got cool harmonies, that's half the battle with me, I think.
So now I kind of know this vaguely, but tell me like your whole start in music. Like what made you like inch towards it to be like, oh, I want to be involved in this, to where this isn't just a song? Because I need a choir and stuff. How'd all that start?
Wow, thank you for asking. I mean, I was a Catholic school bitch my whole life. So since first grade, I was in the youth choir, praising the Lord.
First grade, you were in the choir?
First grade.
Wow.
First grade. I'll never forget it. And so obviously I got a musical start with that. I didn't do any instruments, but, you know, I see people play instruments. And I had a particularly high voice for even a boy child. So they would have me all over with different parts, which was really cool, because that exposed me to like, okay, you sing this part while these people are singing this part. And it's like, oh, that's a harmony. So I grew up singing like really melodic church songs. And my family was always into like, this is so gay. Oh my God. My family was always into like Disney and stuff like that. And so I would really be interested in like musical theater type stuff, like Disney princesses and stuff like that.
I feel like Disney and theater go hand in hand a lot of it. Well, I mean,
100%.
well, a lot of Disney does get turned into theater too at the same time, you know.
If they got songs in it, it's going to become a stage production.
I mean, wasn't there even like a Toy Story one? There's no songs in Toy Story. I'm pretty sure there was a Toy Story
Oh, definitely.
Broadway thing.
Oh, definitely. There had to be.
Yeah.
Had to be. And I'm trying to think, what else? Random Disney movies that became... All right, well, SpongeBob's a musical, first and foremost. And I know that's not Disney, but
Wait,
anything could
that's
happen.
been out?
That SpongeBob the musical?
Like, you remember that from a while ago?
No, that just came out recently.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like, that's been around? Like, that kind of blew my mind for a second.
Man, so,
Because I know they did Spider-Man and shit.
Spider-Man the musical.
Green Day had a goddamn musical.
Christ almighty.
Yeah, they did
Oh
American
my
Idiot
God.
on Broadway.
Mean Girls is a movie.
They did Mean
Is a
Girls
musical,
on Broadway?
I mean. Yep.
I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about?
No, it is a musical. Haven't listened to that soundtrack at all, but
Oh my gosh.
were you ever into musicals growing up?
Not really. It was... Musicals were cool, but...
Like, would you go to see... I mean, I know you went to O'Hara in high school. Would you go
Yeah.
to see y'all's musicals?
Only if, like, friends were in them and
Got
be
it.
like, oh, shit, there's Tim.
Yeah.
Or some shit like that. They're like, oh, shit, Ryan's killing it. Or if, like, our friends are playing in the pit band, maybe.
Right.
But, I would only... It was just a thing to do while high if I was going.
Excellent. I mean, Jesus
It was
Christ.
just, what are we going to do now? What time study? Oh, let's go to the school. Watch a
good.
fucking play.
That's exactly
Dick
how I
around
want to
in the
spend my
band room and
high.
halls.
Yeah. Yeah, wander the halls, really.
Oh, that was always the funnest part about like attending school at night, or like if there was a show, and especially like because I knew the pit band people,
Right.
So like,
and
like,
you were in the pit one time, right?
only once I was in Pippin, and I was, I think, like the most ideal one for me to do because it was weird as fuck, and
Yeah.
the whole time I'm just like, okay, this scene is now happening. But like they had a double kick pedal for me. Like it was like, yeah, like it's rock drums and a couple. I'm like, do you fucking know what I can do with a double kick? Some songs like they were like, yeah, I think you're a little too much in the but then the show would have it. I'm just like,
Oh my God.
just like, okay, dude.
I could see the music director being like, who is this guy and why do we have to keep telling him to
Oh
tone
my
it
God.
down?
It was always so funny. It's like, Paul, just keep it really simple. You know, just keep it simple. I'm like, yeah, all right. And
Oh my gosh.
I was like, you were begging me to go crazy if you put a double kick in front of me. You gotta fucking, oh my God.
Christ almighty. That was their mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did musicals in high
Yeah.
school, I'm assuming?
And then, well, I actually did my first musical in 6th grade. It was a Christmas
What's it
Carol.
like, summer stage is the word? What's it?
Summer stage, actually, I think I did that summer after 6th grade. But during the school year, I did a high school musical. You know Archbishop Carol?
Yes.
They were doing a Christmas Carol, so they needed kids, so I
But
did that.
bing.
Yeah. So then that got me into summer stage.
Okay.
And so I did summer stage until senior year in high school. And obviously they had all these, complicated melodies and dancing and acting, which I really was never good at.
So you just like the singing parts. You weren't a...
Pretty much. Yeah. I absolutely, I could not act. I couldn't dance. Didn't know my way around.
Did you like fail miserably when you were like trying to do those things? Because you're like, because everyone's like, yeah, you can sing. Go fucking do it. Give us a twirl.
I think
And
that
then
was
you're like,
it.
no.
I think it was just like I could fake it till I could make it because I had a decent enough voice that I could sing. I mean, I didn't have a perfect voice, and I certainly couldn't act the part while I was singing. But I wasn't the worst dancer. It's not like I couldn't memorize the dances, which often I couldn't. And but I was able to get parts in parts, you know what I mean? And but mostly vocally is where I was interested in. And the first time I ever picked up an instrument was through my church choir.
Hold up.
Yeah,
We'll get
what's up?
we're gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back. You won't have a break, but
God.
we're gonna take a break for a second. I just gotta go run and give Becca her thing.
Oh, I'm coming with you.
Yeah, all right. And we're back. All right. Like there was a big break anyway. So you were saying your first instrument.
First instrument was guitar. Actually, my choir teacher, she played guitar pretty well, and so she would give lessons to the students if they wanted. And I took lessons for 3 years. Never got good. To this day, not good at guitar. And so that was my first instrumental exposure. And then I didn't consider, I mean, I always thought, I loved theater when I was doing it. And I always thought, like, if I was going to do something musical, that would be it. And at the time, I thought I was a good actor. I thought I was a good dancer. Thought I had a future in that shit, pretty much. And so I didn't consider doing band stuff until college. Really, honestly, like midway through college.
And you spent like all 5 years here at Temple, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And what was that like? Did you like start going to house shows and stuff? Like, did you go to house shows before that? Did you even know that was going on?
No, not at all. Freshman year, you did the frat parties, the house parties, whatever. Sophomore year, I actually commuted from Ardmore. I was living with my best friend Stevie. And so we commuted from all the way over there. Didn't go to any parties.
You were living in Ardmore?
Ardmore.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, dude.
No, I thought you were up in Templetown the whole time.
No, actually. So sophomore year, we were all the way in Ardmore.
Why?
Because they wanted to live at their grandparents' place. Their grandparent lived in Ardmore. And he had this sweet house. It was awesome. And it was kind of separated into 2 units, downstairs and upstairs. He stayed downstairs, and there's this whole upstairs unit to yourself. And it's really cool. It got a kitchen, living room, 2 bedrooms, you know what I mean? And it was awesome. So they were like, I'm moving in there. Do you want to move in with me? And I was like, hell yeah. So I lived there sophomore year.
Did you, you had your own car still? You had that?
No.
No?
Used public trans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was a brutal year educationally, because it was like probably, I don't know, like an hour and a half, including walks and stuff, to get to school, and then
Just
hour
to
and a half
get
back.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So that was ridiculous. And so I think my first house show might have been senior year.
Really?
Junior or senior year. Late junior year or senior year or something.
Because you didn't even go to them. You didn't even know they existed until then?
No, the DIY music scene, I had no idea. It wasn't until I joined Zool Cool. That was my first band.
And how did you meet them?
Oh, thank you for
Because
asking.
they're cool guys. They make cool stuff. I've
really
always
cool.
enjoyed their sets.
Yeah, they're nice. And Becca included. Our future roommate is in Zool Cool.
Mm-hmm, of course.
So Jason is the figurehead of Zool Cool. He writes all the songs. It's his music. We're just his live band, pretty much. Where the hell did I meet him? Actually, I met him in my first physics class. I met him once. I was introduced to him. I was like, wow, this guy's cool, quiet. I'll never be friends with him. He's too cool for me. And then I started making friends with a bunch of people from Havertown, just through mutual connections and stuff. And he happened to be in that friend group. So we got to know each other. And subsequently, I got to know his music, which was really awesome. And then so being involved with him, I got involved with Georgie V.
Yes, that's right.
So
that's kind of where I wanted, like, how did that all start?
Yeah. So George and I went to grade school together. We knew each other in high school, obviously. And then he saw me perform with Zool Cool, and he was like, yo, man, like, you should play music with me. And I did. And so that's how that ended up. And
That's really cool.
through those two projects, that's when I went to my first DIY show, you know what I mean? And started exploring the scene there. Met you, obviously, through DIY.
Yeah.
And
Because I even forget how I started drumming for George. I think it was because he put out Trying, and I mastered it for him. And
how did you two meet?
well, me and George always kind of knew each other in the sense of the Cole tour. So when I was playing with Overfield in like 2014, was it 15? Yeah, pretty much like 2013 and 14.
Was that in the summer? Because that's balls deep in the school year.
What?
You said you were touring?
No, playing with. My bad. Did I say touring? Excuse me. That's when I was playing with Overfield, and we would play like fire shows and shit, and Grape Room, all the fucking whatevers. And I remember George being in the Cold Tour, and I honestly hated him at the time because he was just a mess of a person. Like, we'd get there and be like, fuck, we're playing with the Cold Tour again? And like, you'd be on stage, like running around, super fucked up already.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, it's 5 p.m. Like, what are you doing? He was just like so extra, and I just wasn't having it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so that's when you guys got to know each other.
I knew it was George and George Valdivia or whatever, and I was like, okay, that guy's a lot. But then I do remember he put out his first release with like him in front, and it's like the real picture.
Yeah.
With the one with like Sad and Y on it or whatever. I remember he put that out, and I was like, oh, okay, he's doing his own thing now. And I was like, maybe he'll calm down, because I listened to it and it seemed chiller than the Cold Tour, and like not what I expected from this dude. Like, you'd think it'd be like Scrams punk or some
Sounds
shit.
like
the way
it's from
he
someone
acted.
who's really disciplined and really attentive to their
Or he
music.
just smokes weed and chills out. Like, I was like, this is him? All right, that's cool. Maybe he's calming down a bit,
Right.
And people started talking about him when I started getting into the DIY scene. And I really forget how... I think maybe because I mastered Cerulean Blues EP, like as I was joining them. And then I think he was like, hey, you did Take It or Leave It, and that sounds decent. Like, can I get my shit done by you too? And then I was like, oh yeah, man, this stuff is really tight. And like, we worked like personally together a few times where he came over my place and like we did it together a little bit of the mastering process. And then it kind of like, and then I did remember him from, I think it was before that, when Porch Fest things were happening. Like, I showed up to Porch Fest once or twice at his place doing some Just the Architect songs. And that was like when I was just starting that project. And that was really cool. He's like, that was like me getting introduced to New George, pretty much. And I was like, oh, this guy's cool. Like, he's like not crazy like how I was in the Cold Tour, at least not all the time. And yeah, it's a cool cat, and I really dug his tunes from Trying and shit. And I think he was like, I need a drummer or something. Oh, he was building a different band because everyone he was playing with like stopped, and so he built a band because I was gonna do guitar for him originally, and then I think he got all you guys, like you, Andrew, and Aiden.
Me, Andrew, Aiden, and it was Jason who was playing drums, and then Jason left. And then I think that's when he brought you in on...
I think that was it.
Because we still had a guitarist when you came in.
Yeah, and I think he was going to play drums or some shit. And then Jan was like contemplating of playing with him too.
Yeah.
And then like that all kind of fell through. And I was like trying to learn his songs. And I'm like, bro, I'm like a way better drummer and can play all of your songs now. You won't have to teach me them.
Yeah.
And we just kind of did that then.
Nice.
And it was really simple after that. But like, I don't play drums for his records. He does that himself.
Wow.
Or it gets Brandon too. And like, George is super specific. So it's really cool to see his process up front. But like, I think it's always better if he does it himself, because he just has a certain way about recording that I think is really desirable.
And it always works out. I mean, his music is awesome.
Yeah, it always works out. But that's really cool, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
And
that's how we met.
What a beautiful thing it's become.
Oh my God. Oh.
And yeah, it's a shame. George, you and George fell out. That's a bad story, and we don't need to go into that.
Yeah, it happens.
But that just happens.
That's
Friends
life.
disapart. Now I want to talk about Spiral Sounds for a second, because you really like throw that to the fucking lions. You don't give a shit about that. Every time I bring it up, you're just like, oh, don't even. But you did these songs that are like, they sound exactly what you would make if you made solo music, because I know, like, so like, what bands are you into right now?
So
give
right
me
now,
top 5 really quick.
Top 5 bands. Okay, top 5 bands. Jefferson Airplane, number 1.
Of course, I knew that was coming up.
And then in no particular order, I would say Sugar Candy Mountain, Anemone, Mystic Braves, and one one more.
Telescopes or some shit.
Sound Carriers. Oh, I love Telescopes. Oh,
Oh
my
yeah,
gosh.
Sound Carriers is cool. You
Sound
showed me a
Carriers
couple
are
songs by
awesome.
them.
They're so underrated. No one. I am so glad that one of their songs came up in my Spotify radio because they are so obscure. So obscure you can't find any of their lyrics online. Like I just make words up when I sing to them. Yeah, so I would say those are like top 5 favorite bands
It's
right
like
now.
super washed out lyrics. That you
Yes.
can't understand them pretty
Very.
much.
Oh my God, vocal effects out the ass. You can't hear a lot.
That's why I loved Real Estate and Washed Out and Neon Indian. Like there was a moment where someone showed me all 3 of those bands, and I was like, "Oh my, this is now me." Like, and I feel like that's a close neighbor to the psych rock stuff you listen to.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
definitely.
bedroomy.
And when we
almost.
first started hanging out and listening to music together, we were like, oh, we both like Real Estate.
That's honestly probably one of my top bands.
Yeah, of course it must be.
Yeah.
Along with Blink 182, right?
No, that's like a nostalgia thing. Like, because they're not good now because of so many reasons.
Roger that.
And when they were good, that's when that music was coming out anyway. And what made them so good is because they had like all these cool elements that I really respected that like no other band at the time was even coming close to doing, which is why I talk up their self-titled so much. Like they had, well, like you could compare them to like Green Day, Taking Back Sunday, all those other pop punk bands that were coming out at the time. No one was pushing out albums with a minute-long ambient intro, a spoken word interlude, a jazz fusion interlude with like all these crazy samples and like guitar that sounds like Pink Floyd.
Right.
And the guy that made them want to start the band is on one of their songs. They have Robert Smith of The Cure on one of their songs on Self-Titled. And I feel like that's just so awesome on so many levels.
That is very awesome.
And I'm missing out a lot of other elements that they did on that record that like nobody else was really pushing out at the time. And that's why I respect that so much.
So
like,
you really like their influence on other music.
yeah, especially, and like you can hear it today, like everyone jokes like Juice WRLD is Blink-182 melodies over top type beats, which pretty much is. I mean, rest in pieces, man, and like all that shit. But
You lost me. I have no idea what you're talking about.
well, Juice WRLD passed away. He did that song, I Keep Seeing Shadows in My Room. It's a super like blinky, pop punky. All of his songs are like that. And like there's a lot more people like that happening. And I think that's really cool, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think they kind of set some tones for a lot of bands of like, oh, we can do this on a record too, and stuff like that, which is why I always like the weird stuff. And kind of where I'm at now with you, like listening to these bands that like their whole record is weird because they just are like that.
Right.
I mean, they were kind of like the staple of like, there's more things out there than like the whole song and shit like that.
Right, right.
Like they opened my mind to, and the Boys of Canada did that too, you know, with like, oh, a minute and a half song with a guy talking about lava creating islands and reverse synths, and
Yo,
that's
what?
it.
Fuck me up.
It's like when lava pours out, that's like the whole song. It's like next song. It's
All right,
like,
I'm going to cue that shit.
we'll listen to it later.
Yeah.
Over some fun stuff. But still, Spiral Sounds. When did you start doing that? Because I know the Bandcamp is kind of older, all those songs.
Yeah.
And we actually want to do some more things with you with Spiral Sounds eventually.
Thank you so much. And thank you for taking an interest. It really is just a dinky solo project.
No, like, because how you do it is that neo-psychedelic vibe of, you know, it's like that nice, like, I don't know, like how people just can feel like because you listen to it so much, it just pours out of you.
Yeah.
You know, like, because I listen to like very chill things and like things like Blink-182 when I was a kid, and it's like super installed in me. So like
Right.
when we do PEF things, like if I just do whatever feels simplest to me,
Just like go with your instinct.
it'll come out like Tom DeLonge or Mark Hoppus. And it's just like, I gotta break that fucking cycle.
Right, right.
And when you do things that just flow out of you, I feel like they're always psychedelic or like theater-like.
Right. It's a lot of the things I write have a choral element to it.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Choral.
Which is it's funny, and let me tell you, I gotta weed a lot of that shit out when
it's-
I'm writing my own song.
Well, it's very trained, and I can tell for Spiral Sounds is completely different than PEF. But I wanted to say this because the other day We had a couple choirs in here for Christmas and stuff.
Yeah.
We had like the Crossing and the Keystone State Boy Choir. And when the boy choir was here, the guy was talking about how when like men or boys, whatever,
Penis people.
penis people. That's a great word. There you go. I'm gonna use that.
That's what I've been using for the past few months.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. So when penis people, like start out singing when they're like 11 or 8 or some shit before their other items drop,
right?
And then their voice changes. If they start singing like that and go through the change singing, they keep it. They keep like, which I think is you. Like as soon as I heard that, I was like, Paul,
shit,
because you have that auto vibrato in your voice. You have like, I can see the melodyne almost, like the pitches on like a DAW. Like when you sing, it's so fucking crafted and structured. Like you really hit that. And yeah, I thought of you immediately when I heard that. And I thought that was really cool because now I know you did it since first grade. So that makes a lot of sense. Holy crap.
Wow, that's blowing my mind.
Yeah, and I'm really pissed. I should
have started choir in mid high school because now my bank thinks I'm a woman and sometimes won't let me take money out.
No.
They'll be like, I don't know who this is, but I need to verify some information.
Yeah.
And then they'll go through, I'll give them my social security, my address, my second address, all this shit. And they're
if
like,
I'm ever in a
we
rush,
can't.
they give me that. I'm like, I need my money now. And they're like, hold up, buddy.
Yeah, but there was this one point where it got so bad. I was like, listen, I'm getting overdraft fees. I really need to transfer from my savings to my checking. And they were like, because of my voice, they were like, we can't verify your security information. I'm so sorry. Please try again or whatever. And I had to hang up, call back and be like, I need to speak to your manager. And they were like, what seems to be the problem? I was like, I don't know. I'm 24 years old. They think I'm not me and they won't give me my money. So that's so funny that you heard that because that actually does explain a lot.
Yeah, it does. And like, but like you got that voice for the phone. Like you always you fucked me up with that. I'm sorry, your call has been directed.
Yeah. For everyone listening, I got Paul real good. He was calling me one time, and I was driving. And so I'm so surprised you didn't hear cars in the background. But he called me, and I was just like, "I'm sorry, the person you have dialed is not available." And
I immediately hung up.
He hung up on me.
I was like, oh shit, I just gotta try again or something. And then I recall you to just those laughs. And I'm like, what
what's going on?
So I guess, anyway, so we going to this place, right? And you just kept laughing. And I'm like, yeah, so, like, did you think that was me? Was that me? That was me?
Oh my gosh, to this day, every time I get a call from you, I'm like, should I do it? Nah, it's never gonna work out like last time.
I'm definitely skeptical now, but if it's ever like in a quick moment and that happens, I will 100% just, nah, didn't work. Oops.
Oh my gosh. So, wow, has such an influence.
So yeah, when did you start Spiral Sounds? When did you start doing that?
I started Spiral Sounds, freshman year of college is when I started taking psychedelics. And so the musical influences of my dad in the past started coming up again because he was into classic rock, which I really wasn't into. I really liked the whole rock vibe, but I knew I wanted something more. And the one album that really resonated with me was Pink Floyd's Animals. I'd known that since I was a kid.
Yeah, same.
And that was always excellent. It's such a good album to be raised on. And so I kind of just like knew that in the back of my head. Obviously, I had theater under my belt, which I obviously wasn't paying attention to Pink Floyd. And then I started doing psychedelics and went back to that. And I had Spotify at this point. And so I kind of just let Spotify take me. You know what I mean? And sophomore year, I was not Spiral Sounds yet. Sophomore year in college, I was living with Stevie in Ardmore. And they showed me this band, Temples. That's how I found that band.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't even like them that much at that point. But they showed me that. And I fucking went crazy. I was like, whatever genre this is, I need to go in on this shit. I need to go in. So, so I spent all of sophomore year and the beginning part of junior year really hammering out my neo-psychedelic interests and just finding all these really great, really deep artists that just resonating with me, because neo-psychedelic music obviously has really good rock elements where it uses all the cool instruments that I've really liked hearing, but it also has it can have such airy textures, which I love, and a lot of good neo-psych acts incorporate those vocal elements that I love. And going back to what I said about liking in a song, I'm a slut for really good harmonies and a good groove, both of which pop up a lot in neo-psychedelia. So sophomore and junior year, I really started gravitating towards that type of music. And junior year, I think, is when I first wrote my first Spiral Sound song, which was called Celestial Beacon, I believe was my first song. And I had a keyboard. All that happened was I had this keyboard from my sister back in third grade, my sister's keyboard, and I knew how to just like put together chords. So I just quickly put together like a 4-chord song, and then just kept adding stuff on that and tried to make it really echoey and reverby and lyrical. So I think junior year is when I first started Spiral Sounds.
Cool. And so that was like pretty much just like a culmination of you diving into psychedelics and psychedelic music, pretty much.
Exactly.
Do you have a drug of choice? Psych of choice?
Yeah, psych of choice. Definitely. I mean, I've only done acid and shrooms. I haven't done DMT, which I'm eager for. I'm really looking forward to my first DMT trip because, I mean, I've heard great things, but I've never been in the mood where I'm like, now I could try it. So I've only done acid and shrooms, and they're really good for different things. If I'm alone, I prefer an acid trip.
Really?
Because I can go crazy. You know what I mean? I can go crazy with the visuals I'm seeing. I can go crazy with whatever I'm listening to, whatever I'm writing. I could be curled up in the corner just like scribbling whatever comes to mind. You know what I mean? And these beautiful things will come up in these pages, and I don't look like a freak to anyone, which is awesome. Shrooms is better if I'm around people, especially at Folk Festival. I go to Philadelphia Folk Festival every year, and that's a really good experience for doing psychedelics because it's just the greatest vibes, the happiest people, the nicest people, the best sunshine and everything. And so at least on shrooms, I can have a human conversation.
Okay.
So, but honestly,
it all depends on what you take with mushrooms as well, I feel. Like,
how so?
I feel like it's easier to have a small trip with mushrooms. You can't really, I took one tab and I'm fucking here.
Yes.
Yes, but it's like I only had half the ace and I'm not even feeling it.
You're not even feeling it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like I'm just feeling like chill, like I can sit down, laugh with these people and stuff like that.
But if you have enough mushrooms, it's Alice in Wonderland, bro. It's too much.
Oh, it's so good.
Like literally.
So good.
Literally.
Actually, on shrooms, it's how I came up with the name for Spiral Sounds.
Oh, okay. You saw the spirals in your shrooms?
I saw the spirals and I heard them. The thing was, so this was actually at Folk Fest. This was one of the years at Folk Fest.
What year?
What year? 2016, 2017? Were you there?
No, because I had spirally mushrooms around then too.
Oh, shit.
Like I saw Moon King, I think, with Youth Lagoon. And I ate like a whole eighth, and I like ran into the fucking drummer to the Front Bottoms brother in line.
What the
like I was just like, you look a lot like that one guy. He's like, I am his brother. I'm like, what's good, dude? It was so weird. And it was on Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
It was on Halloween, so everyone's in a costume too, and it was like,
Lord Jesus, and you're on shrooms.
I'm tripping face.
Oh,
and,
fucking hell.
Like after we couldn't handle the first band, we were right up front for the first band, like right in front of the speakers. And
thumbs up, thumbs down.
It was a little overwhelming. I was having visions of waking up on the floor.
Oh, Christ.
But like before that, I was looking up at the band and I was seeing vortexes and spirals. Like I wouldn't say like a spiral like on your arm, but it was like a like inward vortexes
Right.
just randomly everywhere.
Right.
And I remember my friend dragged me back to the lobby, and he was like freaking out too. And he's like telling me like, and I was supposed to be his like spirit guide. Because I'm like, man, I got judged from the whole time.
It's really hard to spirit guide when you're at a fucking concert.
Yeah.
So I can
And we
imagine your
both-
difficulty.
And we both downed these lemon drinks. So it was like,
Oh my God.
now it's all hitting you.
You're just, that's it.
And it was crazy.
Oh, you were bound to have a nuts time.
It was nuts. And he's like freaking out. I was like, hey man, like we just gotta go back to temple. I just want to see like my friends and shit, and like see everybody, and like just be watching the game or some shit. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I turned to him, and his face is a vortex.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
just like,
Oh, God.
and he's like, well, I can't drive, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit. And everything's gonna be cool. We didn't even see the band.
Oh, my God. How did he react when you were like, I can't
I was
drive?
like, well, I can't drive. And he was like,
That's
"You're
a
right."
nightmare sentence to hear.
But I kept being like, but we're here. We didn't even see the band. We were here to see. Let's just chill out here until they start. We'll hang in the back, catch a song, then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, that sounds good. And then when they started actually playing, it was like a Halloween version of Youth Lagoon. And
Oh, my God.
they're such a sweet act. It's very like C major shit, you know, like very happy, but like low energy, calm stuff is like what we, and like his new stuff is a little more active, but like we were expecting like the first album type shit.
Yeah.
And it was literally like Halloween version. Everything was like,
Did they just minor chord everything?
it sounded like everything was then minor and
Yeah.
detuned. And like it was like wait, like it was just like off.
Oh my
you know?
God.
And we're just like in the back, like, okay.
To each their own, Paul, but this sounds like a fucking horrid trip.
Oh, it was awful. Yeah, it was awful. And then we went to Llama Tooth, rest
Yeah.
in pieces, across the street, and it was literally like 100,000 to 1 to 0, because it was like when we finally sat down, it felt like we were in a movie, and the last scene was like a war, like,
Just loud sounds, crazy. Right.
and then
oh, God.
chilling in Llama Tooth.
Oh, God.
And it was just like snap, and we're there. And I'm sitting there, and I felt like we just came through so much. Like I was having visions of my friend looking like he was in an army outfit and muddy as fuck.
Oh, God.
And I would look at him and he'd be fine, but I would just be like, okay. Because I'm like, we did it. We got out of there. We fucking did it, man. Like,
Dude, that like moment you had, it reminds me of a similar trip that I had where me and my best friend Stevie, we went to go see Tame Impala.
oh, geez. That's gotta be a
and-
good time.
Oh, it was awesome. It was, to this day, top 5 trips. Probably number 5. But it was crazy from the moment we took it to the moment the concert was over, because we took it, we didn't leave for the show till we started tripping, which was already a bad idea because we're like, oh, what time is it? There are numbers and it's
It says
7.
It's like, I should check the time.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, what was I doing? Oh, yeah.
And then so we leave our house, and this was we were at Temple at this point, and even though it was 2015, so I think I was living at Temple, right? 2015 was junior year. 2013 we came, and then 2014, then fall of 2015 junior year.
Yeah.
And so we started tripping, and then we're like, all right, we got to get to the concert. We had to take public trans. Such a bad idea. It was a great trip, but oh my God, I've never had a more awkward experience. And so it was just crazy sounds, people everywhere. We're trying to navigate public trans to get the fucking 69th Street station. 69th Street is obviously its own realm of fucking just chaos.
Where was this? At the tower or some shit?
Tower, yep. And then we get there, and then obviously Tame Impala is just mind-blowing with the whole light show. And then at the last song, we didn't know it was going to be the last song. Stevie went out for a cigarette, and so I was like jamming to the last song, and then the show was over. Oh my goodness. And so I had to wait for Stevie. So I was just in the audience, and there were chairs at the tower. So I was just sitting in the seat. Everyone's leaving, and it was just like
that moment of next scene.
yeah.
It's like dun 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 dun.
Dun. I can't hear a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, those are crazy moments.
But honestly, desert island. If I was on a desert island alone, I would definitely choose shrooms.
Okay.
Or not shrooms. Sorry, I flipped the wrong coin. Acid.
Acid. Okay.
I would definitely choose acid. I've definitely had crazier moments that I can vividly remember. Oh, and back to finding the name Spiral Sounds. So what had happened was I was at Folk Fest and I'd taken some shrooms and everyone was hanging out. It was great. And everyone was going to walk off someplace. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to chill here because I am tripping face and I just want to color. And so I did. I was just there. You should have walked by our campsite. It was crazy because it was just like a spotlight on me, center of the camp, alone, papers everywhere, me with just like colored pencils going crazy. I'm half dressed, have this stupid headband on my head, just like going nuts. It was fantastic. And I'll never forget just like looking out because there's lights in your tent and they're just so beautiful. And then you look out into the darkness of the whole campsite and you just start to see crazy patterns within this like blank slate of darkness. So I would see spirals in this darkness of just like waves and spirals just like continuously scintillating. It was gorgeous and I would hear them. It was like it was like a but just like a million times over. And so it was just this intense moment of synesthesia. And so when I finally released my first song, I was like,
I need to buy a synthesizer and try to recreate that shit,
I
man.
know,
what are you doing?
Paul. To this day, I'm like, I don't even know what I heard.
Like literally,
it was insane.
That's so cool. Like, let me tell you about these 2 times I had these like thoughts on a psychedelic of like a sound.
Yeah.
It was like I need to make that.
Yeah.
Like and then like I did like once or twice. I think it was
Successfully recreated it.
the one time I really did it 100% successfully. And it was crazy because I was still kind of tripping. Like I took it at like 11 or midnight or something and like kind of stayed up all night. And then as soon as 7 came, like I was like, I'm going to go in the studio and make this. And I like woke up and what I was thinking the entire night, it was like, it's hard to explain. Like I was envisioning like a desert, like rocky plain, like you'd see in like Dragon Ball Z or some shit that they knock each other through all the things.
Right.
But like
the
all
mesas and the plateaus and stuff.
all
right.
that nonsense. But it was like this like robotic, futuristic, spacey triangle that was like metallic and red and like glowy, just floating in there and like moving. And it was pulsing. It was like this dum 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 dum. It would just like double and triple and double and triple.
Where were you tripping that you were hearing this?
I was just in my fucking bed. I was literally just in my bed, and then just this whole like single sound, and then and I was just like, what the fuck? I gotta make that. And then like somehow, like I was still very much tripping at this point, and somehow I just go into FL Studio because that's what I was using at the time, and I just make it. I literally like didn't even know what I was doing. I'm like, I think this will be what I'm looking for. I think this is it. I think this is it. I think this is it. And then hit play, and I'm like, that's exactly it. And then fucking threw it into Studio One and added drums to it and shit. And I'm just like, this is exactly what I was achieving.
So what did you think? What did you think when you woke up? Obviously not tripping anymore. You woke up and you listened to it for the first time. Did it send you back? You were like, holy shit, I did nail it.
Yeah, it did have like a taste in my mouth. Like when I would like play it again, like it like brought me back to that like
excuse me. Oh
like
God.
nothingness vibe, like that you feel on acid, you know, that kind of like I'm skin and bones and shit. It kind of brought me back there and like would always kind of remind me of that like really out there vibe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it was just that was the only one. And I think Oh, this one.
Second one.
Oh, the second one. It wasn't a full song, but like when I was tripping acid, and this one I didn't have like any idea what to do on acid. Like I took it. I was like, fucking take it, whatever. And I'm like watching Adventure Time or whatever, and like a commercial comes on, and I'm just like, I'm feeling crazy right now. I'm like, I want to write a space rock song. And I wanted to write like an Angels and Airwaves, like super bombastic bullshit that makes you feel like you're soaring and shit. Like Angels and Airwaves is such a soaring sound. It makes it feel like you're like a bird taking off into space and shit. It's so crazy. And I was like, I want that experience right now. And so like I just went into this and started making shit again. And when I was making like a big intro, because if it's AVA, you gotta have a big intro. And so I'm playing with all these synths, and as I like play this one that was just like a sound effect, it was like the more you would hold it, it would kind of like space out. And when I would do that, I saw like pencil lines, like quick pencil lines, like they were like how animes like when
on the screen or
like floating off of the synth. Like, you know, like in an anime when someone moves super fast, it's just lines or whatever. Or like you see those like motion lines or whatever. Like it looked like that, just like and like flying off into the
my lord
fucking sunlight. And like that was always like, I'm on the right track.
It's so cool how you could see something that matches the sound so perfectly.
I think it was only because like I was like really in it, and like I was that's the only thing I was focusing on.
Right.
So I feel like you need to get a synth and find those spirals.
Thank you
Just
so
like
much.
keep messing with it until you hear it.
Yeah, you know what? And living with you, Paul and I are moving in together in a few days. Living with you, thank you. I'm gonna be able to fuck around with so much shit, which is awesome. Everything good?
No, that cut off. So this one will just be audio. Whatever.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Bummer.
Maybe I'll just keep them audio, because I feel like video doesn't look good unless it's like done well.
Right. This isn't the best lighting anyway.
Yeah. I did video Brian, but it would make it a lot easier if it was just audio. So I think I'm going to keep it audio.
Okay, good.
If anyone's wondering what just fucking happened, I was like, oh, the camera's off and not fucking recording. So whatever. Anyway, so
those are the first two. Those are the two times you were able to
that was
recreate
the only time I could really create a sound, and maybe like another time when I was making the song Jeff by Forest Kids.
Yeah.
Like actual Forest Kids, and that one is obviously all about Jeff. And there was like,
oh God,
for those who do not know, I'm sure
know.
in one of the episodes I will talk about the whole story.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I talked about it on Andrew Cast. Check out the Andrew Cast podcast on Spotify and shit. But long story short, I took acid and had the most nightmarish, devilish, hellish trip.
I've never heard anything like it.
Yeah, that's definitely a cliffhanger for some other time. And anyway, my ceiling fan turned into a monster. And it was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like literally, I wasn't even like, I was like, oh, now I know what the scariest thing I'll ever fucking see is.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And so like creating that song was just sheer like angry fucking and like scary fucking tunes and stuff. And there's like there's actually a version 2 of Jeff I'm putting out in February.
You're trying to go back to that?
Oh yeah, well it's already done. It's like just super fucking heavy. I think it's like gonna be an Ovilus cover maybe or something, or a remix of some sort. That's actually gonna come out on Forest Kids Day. I'm trying to make a Forest Kids Day. February 7th, 27, FK27.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
Because
Okay.
it's all the aliases
It's
and
all
shit.
the projects, yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to be creative.
Forest Kids Day is coming up, kids.
Coming up, bitch. Fuck Groundhog Day.
Take off from work.
Oh, more importantly, January 22nd. I mean,
20th.
January 20th.
January 20th.
Jesus.
In 2020.
In 2020.
Look out for People Eating Fruit's
have
first
People-
LP.
It's going to be so good. I'm very happy with it.
So proud of all the work we've done.
And that's why I wanted PEF to be the last topic we talk about. So, from your eyes,
Yeah.
what
Wait,
is...
can I actually say one more thing about psychedelic experiences?
Yeah,
and sound,
totally.
and then we'll move on to Pep.
Yeah, totally.
One, I was never able to recreate seeing spirals or anything,
Well,
any
I feel
sound like
if
that.
you
like
had the tools, you could.
Oh, please. I do not have the mixing or musical ability that you
the
do.
GarageBand shit you send me, you did on your phone is like, oh man, this guy can make some shit.
Oh, thank you. But the one thing I was able to take with me after the fact is that there is this band called Levitation Room. They have a song called Midsummer's Daydream. And it's a really cool song. It's got really beautiful vocal harmonies. And one time I was tripping with a bunch of my friends in New Hampshire on a mountain, completely green, so spacious, just the most beautiful sounds. It sounded like you could hear birds and crickets from like miles away.
I remember
it was
this. I remember this story.
insane. And throughout all these sounds and just seeing the entire world right in front of me, I heard these ahs that were just like, ah, and this beautiful chorus of ahs going on. And for like a few weeks after, I was like, I could hear that riff of ahs in my head, and I couldn't figure it out. And then that song came up on my Spotify, and I was like, oh, holy shit. Immediately got chills up it just took me back. It was like, holy shit, flashbacks do happen. Like, they weren't joking. You know what I mean? like, so I'm really glad that song came up in one of my trips, because I can put on that music and I can channel that memory.
That's so cool.
Really cool.
I don't think I've ever had something like that happen, other than like, yeah, I really don't. I mean, like maybe like Geotic or something. Like if I put that on, because that was always my like, oh, I'm tripping. I have to have this on the entire time.
Right.
Like literally, I'm so nervous about psychedelics anymore, which is why I'm eager to try them again with you.
Yeah.
Like literally just talking about it makes my butt cheeks tingle. Like I'm very nervous. So yeah.
Oh, I love it.
But I mean, like I listen to stuff a lot when I sleep, and like some of the things I would listen to when I was like tripping and stuff like that, like so like if it's like just sounds in a room, you know, like you hear like a train from afar or like a plane and some traffic, that will morph into one of those ambient songs I like fall asleep to or like have tripped to. Like you'll just kind of hear the tone and think it's like this piano chord, like super delayed and like warped out and shit. And I'm just like, nope. Like there was a good moment where like when I first started sleeping to music, like I would hear that shit all the time. Like if I was in a room like this and like the air conditioners or whatever, or if like I was here long enough, I would start hearing like a melody or a texture that I would fall asleep to. Wow. That's the only closest thing I came to like listening to music after like an experience like that.
Right.
But that's really fucking cool.
That's really nice. That's like a superpower.
No, I think it's just like hypnotism or whatever. Or well, what's the word? Brainwashing, auditory hallucination. Like if you stare at the spiral enough, like it's I'm tripping. You know, you look at the wall.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So Pef. So I want to hear your like whole experience of like me inviting you to come hop on Internet Explorer like a year plus ago, and where it is now. Like, what's your whole viewpoint of that? And
of Internet Explorer?
Of like Pef, like
my
coming
point of
on
view
to
of
this
coming into
from
Pef.
what you were doing to what you're doing now.
Okay.
Like, what's that whole like for you? You know.
So, as we talked about, we were in Georgie V together for a short time, and I feel, from my point of view, we really connected. Not only because we have a lot in common and we just vibed a lot. We were the only smokers. So anytime we had a break, we would be going out to smoke weed.
Or cigarettes.
Right, exactly. And everyone else had smoked cigarettes, but we would be the one to be like, okay, we really need to mellow out for a second.
Yeah.
And so we would have, yeah, exactly, bye nerds. So we would have extended time together to really connect. So me and you really started to connect. So after I had left, you would still be really cool enough to be like, hey, come over to my house at Cardin, like, and we'll just hang out. And our hangs would be really great. We would have no shortage of things to talk about, music to show each other, shows to show each other. We just always vibed. And So one day, you were just like, hey, I'm starting to write music with this kid, Brandon Bauer, who I'd met through the DIY scene. And I had he had excellent music. Every time I would see him, his acoustic sets, I'd be like, this kid's gonna be famous.
Didn't you meet him on Porch Fest or some
His
shit?
words. That's a really good question. I
don't
think it was
you and him there when I would go to Porch Fest.
Yeah, that's likely. Actually, the first time. I don't think I should say it on the radio. Never mind.
What? It's not the radio. What? What is it?
The first time I had a real conversation with Brandon was he used the F word in one of his songs. So I came up after him and I was like, hey, like, if you are a straight man, you should not use that word. And he was so nice about it. And I haven't heard him use the word since. He was so nice about it. He was like, oh my gosh, like, I'd really love to hear more about, like, your views on that, like, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I was like, oh, this is the most ingenuous thing in the world. Like, he means none of this. Like, oh, God, why did they even bring this up? Of course he wouldn't respond. And it turns out he's, like, the most genuine, sweet person I've met. So you told me you were making music with him, and you were like, hey, like, I know you can sing. Do you want to lay down some, like, background vocals on this one song? And I think the first song we actually put my vocals on was Flower Mouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you showed me this, and I was like, holy shit, like, I knew Brandon could write such awesome lyrics, but who better would produce him than you?
Oh.
Like, wow, I get these beautiful poetic lyrics with such